Hello, I'm Rik Deskin. I'm an actor, USAF veteran, national chair of the SAG-AFTRA Military Personnel and Family Support Committee, and a member of the GI Film Festival San Diego Advisory Committee. On behalf of KPBS, our festival organizers, volunteers, and filmmakers, thank you for joining us for our afternoon shorts drama block. With us this afternoon are a number of the talented writers, directors, and actors behind the films we just watched. We've got Quinn Else, director of Fort Irwin, Jonah Saesan, director of The Sweatshirt, Katie Saesan, co-writer of The Sweatshirt, uh, RJ Nevens Jr., director of Walking Point, Jeff Copsetta, veteran and World War II historian for Walking Point, Sean Patrick Higgins, writer, producer, actor for Early Light, Nina Brissey, director actress from Amazing Grace, and Robert Craighead, lead actor from Amazing Grace. Thank you all for being here. So starting off, Quinn, how did this film come about?
So I don't have any military background. I was studying at the AFI Conservatory for my thesis film, and I came across the military simulations they do at Fort Irwin. And so I went to Fort Irwin and I toured, and I was amazed and very curious about all of the exercises they do there. And I learned that they hire amputee actors to participate in these simulations, get in the very gory makeup in order to train the soldiers. And so the whole world just felt like a very bizarre combination of like high budget film action effects and real life and death stakes. And so I was just immediately very curious about it, and it kind of went from there.
Cool. It was very compelling. RJ, same question.
I've been a big Doberman pinscher owner my entire life. And when my first Doberman passed away decades ago, I did some research on the breed, and it kind of led me back to understand that they were some of the first dogs ever used in combat, and they were trained. Some of the first trained canines were used during World War II during the Pacific, and the majority of those were Dobermans, and that kind of sent me on a big spiral of doing some more research and putting together a story and writing a book about it as well.
Cool. Nina, same question.
So Robert and I are go pretty far back and have done some plays and some work together. And we were talking about doing a project together, and didn't intend to do a short film, just intended to do kind of a scene, just to be able to work together in a little bit different format. And then we decided if we were going to invest so much into this project that it should be a short film, and started talking about veterans and about alcoholism. And my uncle is a Vietnam veteran. He has 2 Bronze Stars for his service in Vietnam. And so it's inspired by my uncle and my cousin's relationship, and we both connected to that, and then brought Steve Mazer in as a co-writer, and then went from there. But really, the inspiration was a real life story and a relationship of someone that I'm close to, and then Robert's insight into his experiences as well.
Thank you. Let's see, Jonah and Katie, same question for you guys.
Yeah, so I try to self-produce a film once a year-ish. And that particular year, I was getting close to the end of the year and realizing I hadn't done one yet. But me and Katie did the Second City writing program together. I'm an actor here in Chicago. And I was trying to rope her in a little bit more into my world as I was getting more and more plugged in at Second City. I'm a teacher there now, but she was kind of removed from that world. So I forced her to do the writing program with me because she's an amazing writer, and she was great at it. And she actually wrote this sketch that was originally written for the stage at Second City. That was about a sweatshirt being stolen by an ex-boyfriend. and trying to get it back in the style of like a Dick Wolf show, your Chicago Fire, or Chicago Med, Chicago PD, which was so hilarious to me. But I also said like the medium of film would add to that, because then we can use those kind of Dick Wolf colors and saturation and play with like the idea of that medium, make it feel like that TV show with a soundtrack and so on. And so she was easy to talk into it, and we rewrote it together as a screenplay.
Thanks. So same question for Jeff.
Yeah, well, I kind of came on board probably pretty late compared to the rest of the cast and crew for Walking Point. Got to meet RJ and his wife Chelsea actually at my profession, which is reenacting and doing World War II style programs and live reenactments for the public here in Texas. And we just kind of fell in, and I think he saw the production quality of what I had under my belt and the resources that I've made, being able to reenact all over Texas. And it just kind of fell together. To me, I think it was the right place, right time kind of thing. And it was just such an incredible story. And of course, being a veteran myself, I've tried to really, since I've been out for quite some time now, but everything that I do, I use that same intensity that I used over there in things that I do here. And to have the opportunity to tell a story as rich and robust as RJ's was a no-brainer for me. So I was just happy to be a part of it.
Okay, we've got a question from Brian. He says that these were incredible productions. Were they student projects or community projects? Both of those and more. So I'm going to throw that to Nina first.
This is the first short film that I have written and directed, or co-written and directed and produced. And so Robert and I just did this sort of on our own with the help of our donors. We did do a Seed and Spark campaign and raise money that way, and then we also got a Frost Entertainment on as producers as well. So it really was a little bit of a smaller effort. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Jonah and Katie.
Yeah,
Maybe Katie can take this one.
We funded it completely ourselves. And
do you remember the budget?
I don't remember the budget.
Well, there was no budget. It was just how much could we do it? How much could we do it for? I think we did it for $750.
Costuming came from, the local
This is
thrift store.
Yeah, if you didn't recognize my torn up hoodie from the film.
Yeah. Sean, how did, first of all, I want you to answer the first question and then answer Brian's question as well.
For sure. Well, the film came about, my father's Green Beret in Vietnam, and I grew up around horses and spent some time growing up between California and Wyoming. And so I've seen some of the power of equine therapy, and I wanted to share a story about it, but it's not so much while it's an homage to him, it's very much just a narrative that we came up with. And the second question is, it's a professional film. We had a bunch of students who came up and interned on it, which was great, from the University of Wyoming. And apart from that, it's just my tribe of filmmakers getting together and getting antsy. So we wanted to make something. Cool.
Robert, from your perspective, how did the project with Nina come about? And well, I think Nina's already answered the second question. So just go ahead and answer the first question.
Well, it basically, like she said, we were looking for something to do together. And when she told me the story about her uncle, I felt connected to it. And I've always had a compassion for veterans, and the alcoholism is something that is very close to me, as well as PTSD. And I just felt very connected to the story that her and Stephen came up with, and just was all on board from that point forward.
And Robert was also an executive producer on this with his production company, Positude Productions. So he came in really at post-production, and we really have a film because of him.
So, Jeff, you're also a veteran and now a World War II historian. What was your biggest challenge working on this film?
There was, like any film, I'm sure there's a number of challenges, a number of fires to put out. I can't think of one in particular, but I think RJ could attest to this as well, that we were really trying to get the uniforms, the accuracy there as well as we could, and that took that film, even from the locations, it took that film, to two completely different states, just to try to get the environment around the actors as close as we possibly could get. And that was a challenge. That's tough. But, like I said, I was just fortunate to have a lot of resources, at my fingertips, and a whole lot of creativity between myself and the rest of the cast and crew to pull off something like that. And I think we did a pretty good job at it.
Cool. Quinn, same question from Brian. Was your project a student project or a community project?
My project was a student film, so it was produced at the AFI Conservatory, which is in Hollywood, and it was a combination of money from the school, and we raised money for it.
Cool. Jonah, what was your filmmaking journey like for this film?
For this film specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So yeah, I've been directing films for a while, so this one was pretty much a little different than ones I'd done before, where I would cast, have open casting calls, bring in actors, things like that. I had this one in my head from the moment you had like an original sketch written down. So I knew all the people I wanted in it. And so it was more just go to my Second City friends and say, we're doing this together. And much like Sean talks about having his tribe, like same thing. It was like, here's the people that I want to work with. And I know that are antsy to do a project together. So we kind of just put together a really, really chill, great team. I think our crew is only 13 people. Cast, obviously, just I'm the guy, and then there's the 3 girls in it. So it's a really small cast as well. The journey for filming it, the biggest hurdle I had was that I didn't have backup days, because we had to film outdoors in January in Chicago. I know January there in California doesn't sound crazy. Here it's a little nuts to not have a backup day on the schedule for that. And we had to reshoot because there was the day where we had like over 30-mile-per-hour winds and negative temperatures that we just weren't going to put actors in. So we had to refind a day like late February to reshoot. Snow was gone, all sorts of stuff like that. So that was a challenge. And also the number of hats I wore on this project was quite the challenge. And I've learned my lesson on that. And so the latest project that I worked on, that's actually a SAG-AFTRA production, went a lot more professional, co-directed it with someone instead of directed it by myself. I'm still playing a role in it, but that's what I kind of learned, is that directing and starring in the film. And I wasn't a star in this by no means. I was like the butt of all the jokes in this film. But having a part and then directing was too much for me in these smaller productions without a lot more support around me with producers and things like that. So this next project, I definitely learned my lessons on that.
Nina, I know that Robert is a SAG-AFTRA actor. I'm just curious, are you a SAG-AFTRA member as well?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so what was it? I'm going to take this question to Robert then. Robert, why did you choose to be involved in this film?
Well, I mean, we obviously went through SAG-AFTRA to have the film, to follow all the guidelines, et cetera. And, I don't usually work on a project unless it is union. But like I said, what drew me to it was the story itself, as well as, Nina, we've worked together. I guess we've known each other for about 10 years now, and worked opposite of each other on stage as well as film. And we just have a nice connection and a familiarity with each other. And so I felt we could make this work. And I think that it did.
That's great. Let's see. What's the message that you want to share with this film? I'm going to start with Quinn on this one.
I think think so first of all, Christian Valle, who starred in the film, who was a combat veteran, was very much the heart and soul of the film. And I think what we tried to capture with it is it tackles a lot of very complex, traumatic subjects, but try and tell a story where the main character gets one step closer to overcoming his trauma rather than just being consumed by it. So I felt like the simulations were an interesting experience because it's people reenacting very horrible things that happened to them as a way to overcome their trauma. So I think that was kind of the interesting complexity of the film.
Thank you. Sean, can you let me know what the message, let the audience know what the message was that you want to share with your film?
Yeah, so we wanted to talk a lot about just what it is to be struggling silently and some of the different nonverbal cues that come with that. Some folks are better at sharing that than others, and that you just really never know where that help might come from. And so for us, it's really how could we capture that, and how could we tie it back to the land being healing and back to horses holding space and being healing, but also that sense of camaraderie and brotherhood.
And there's a question for you in the chat. They want to know what you learned in making the film. How has it impacted you?
Wow, so while we were filming, I think the most magical thing was we had this campfire scene that you all probably saw in the film. And during that, we had 12 different veterans who had come up and helped that night. And all of them were combat veterans that had gone through the veteran program at CHEP's equine therapy. And so that night, we just rolled the camera, and I think we had 4.5, 5 hours of guys just sitting around the campfire opening up about their stories. And a lot of them had shared things that they'd never shared with me before or with the CHAPS director before of the equine program. And so it was really a pretty moving and magical experience. I think, if no one saw the film and if we did nothing with it that night, for the 22 filmmakers that were there, that was the magic.
Thanks. Nina, same question for you. What's the message that you want to share with your film?
So my goal since that I kind of or my mission that I sort of created for myself in college was to do films that promote awareness, justice, and change. And I felt like this was the first time I got to do that. But really to make a film that that allows people who have maybe never been have never experienced something to get a closer look at it, to be able to gain some understanding and some empathy so that we can connect. So to create something meaningful that allows more connection between people, especially when, like I said, when there's no experience either with war or trauma or mental health struggles. So yeah, just to create a glimpse into something and to connect people.
Thank you. Jeff, question for you and or for RJ. I guess actually it's probably better for RJ. What's the message that you wanted to share with this film?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the message that I really wanted to share is that we see a lot of stuff in the news today with the current military canines and how awesome it is with them parachuting out of planes, and they have goggles and night vision and this wonderful technology. But I don't want it to be forgotten that it began some time ago in the 40s, that there was when there wasn't technology, and it was really just man's best friend and a soldier or a Marine in the middle and in the thick of it. And I don't want that to be forgotten. I mean, there is our tagline to our film is that a Marine is always faithful, and so is man's best friend. That's kind of our tagline to the film, and that's what we don't want to be forgotten. There's a lot of history associated with the canines and military, and that's what we want to preserve. We want to preserve those stories and ensure that the canine, the heroes also get, just as much recognition as, the humans do.
I find it interesting that all of your films have a through line that deals with mental health and there's the PTSD. Those things are all interesting challenges for us as a society, and I found that really compelling. Jonah, did I ask you what message you wanted to share with your film?
No, I'll let Katie start and then I'll finish.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
I always find it really funny when our film ends up in a drama block, but I guess that is the message, is like,
It's happened more than once. Yeah.
yeah, it's happened more than one time. But I think that's the message. Getting your sweatshirt back should not be this dramatic. Like the end of a breakup does not have to be this dramatic.
That is a great answer. And I would only add, my personal message would be to Dick Wolf to cast all 4 of us in a Dick Wolf show. And that has come true for 2 of the cast members. So since we did our film,
Nice.
Dominique Lachey has been in 2 Dick Wolf shows, and Tina Arfey, who plays the sister, has been in Chicago Med. So now just me and Sabine, we're ready.
Nice.
Secondary messaging.
Well, we're at that time already to close, everybody. So I want you to know that there are plenty of great films in the festival. Tomorrow's the last day. Access to rent the films as a video on demand option continues to the middle of next week. And we hope you see as many films as your schedule allows. You can find the full schedule, show times, and rentals at gifilmfestivalsd.org. Thank you to all involved for making this virtual festival possible, including my fellow advisory committee members, the Film Consortium San Diego, our filmmakers, and our festival sponsors and partners, the California Arts Council, Scatina Daniels Communications, National University, Task and Purpose, and the San Diego International Airport Arts Program. And I also want to thank Claudine Casillas and Carla Connors. They've been working behind the scenes throughout the festival, and they keep everything on track, and I appreciate the work that they put into this. In the email reminder you got for the screening, there was a link to our attendee survey. It takes just a few minutes of your time, and your feedback will help us make next year's GI Film Festival San Diego event better than ever. Thank you, everybody.